Picture yourself living your whole life as someone else, this version of who you should be. You bend and twist yourself into shapes that feel foreign, chasing after approval from people whose opinions shouldn't even matter to you. You walk through each day measuring your value by how well you think others see you, constantly worried about their judgment, always seeking their validation. But what if I told you that this entire approach to life is actually the very thing that keeps you stuck? What if the secret to genuine happiness, unshakable confidence, and real success is not about controlling every outcome, but about learning to release your grip? Michel de Montaigne, a brilliant mind who lived centuries ago, spent his life exploring exactly this contradiction. His way of thinking offers us a roadmap to personal freedom, genuine self-acceptance, and the skill of living without carrying burdens we were never meant to carry. He dared to question the basic assumptions we hold about who we are, what success really means, and how much we should let society, his expectations influence us. By the time we finish exploring his ideas together, you will see clearly why the instant you stop needing everyone else's disapproval, your entire life begins to transform and fall into its natural rhythm. Stop for a moment and consider this question. How much of the stress that weighs you down every day comes from trying to live up to standards that other people created? How many times do you stop yourself from doing something because you are terrified of what people might say about you? How much of your precious energy gets wasted on worrying about things that, when you really think about it, do not matter at all in the bigger picture of your life? Montaigne discovered something both simple and revolutionary. The more we release ourselves from outside pressures, the more we connect with who we truly are underneath all the masks we wear. He understood that life cannot be predicted, that trying to be perfect is chasing something that does not exist, and that accepting yourself exactly as you are represents the deepest kind of wisdom you can possess. But here's where most people completely misunderstand what this means. Learning not to care does not mean becoming careless, lazy, or giving up on your goals. It does not mean hiding from life or pretending your responsibilities do not exist. Instead, it means setting yourself free from the endless hunger for approval, the paralyzing fear of being rejected, and the draining habit of second-guessing every single thing you do. It means creating a life that belongs to you, staying present in each moment as it comes, and recognizing that you do not owe anyone proof of your worth. Montaigne dedicated much of his time to studying how people actually behave and why. He noticed that most of us live like prisoners trapped inside our own thoughts, spinning in circles of worry, self-doubt, and feeling not good enough. He wondered why we let other people's opinions become the force that drives our choices. Why do we hold so tightly to control when life itself is naturally uncertain? Why do we chase after a version of success that someone else defined for us instead of figuring out what we actually want? And the most important question he asked was this: what would actually happen if we just stopped caring so much about all of these things? When you stop demanding perfection from yourself, you start to see your flaws as part of what makes you human. When you stop needing validation from others, you begin to live according to your own values and desires. When you stop trying to force everything to go exactly as planned, you create room for life to surprise you in beautiful ways. And here's the amazing paradox that Montaigne discovered. The less effort you put into proving how worthy you are, the more genuine power you actually have. Think about the people you have met who seem to have that special something that draws others to them. Are they the ones who constantly explain themselves, beg for approval, and try desperately to make everyone like them? Or are they the ones who seem comfortable in their own skin, unbothered by small problems, and completely okay with being exactly who they are without apology? Montaigne figured out this secret long before modern scientists started studying how the mind works. People are naturally attracted to authenticity. When you stop begging for validation, when you embrace the parts of yourself that are not perfect and learn to trust your own judgment, you automatically become more appealing in every area of your life. The moment you let go of the fear of failing or being judged, you gain access to something that is worth more than anything money can buy. Complete freedom. The freedom to take chances without analyzing every possible outcome first. The freedom to say what you really think without worrying about every word. The freedom to simply be yourself, without constantly checking to see if you measure up to someone else's ruler. But here's where things get really interesting. Once you release yourself from worries that do not actually serve you, you do not just find inner peace. Your external life starts to get better too. Your relationships become more real and honest. Good opportunities start showing up naturally. Making decisions becomes much easier because you are choosing based on what you genuinely want, not what you think you are supposed to want. This captures the heart of what Montaigne taught. He believed that most of our pain comes from fighting against reality, from trying to squeeze life into a shape that it was never meant to take. But when you stop that fight, everything starts to flow the way it was always meant to. Really think about this for a minute. How many times have you kept your mouth shut when you had something important to say, just because you were scared of what people would think? How often do you replay conversations over and over in your mind, torturing yourself about how you came across? How much of the way you live has been shaped by expectations that were never actually yours to begin with? Montaigne calls us to walk away from these invisible chains we put on ourselves. He challenges us to get comfortable with not knowing what comes next, to make peace with our imperfections, and to stop letting fear make all our important choices for us. And this is only the starting point, because as we go deeper into understanding his way of thinking, we are going to discover specific, practical ways to bring this mindset into your actual daily life. Ways that will help you break through the mental walls you have built, make choices with confidence, and truly taste the freedom that comes when you finally learn to let go. Michel de Montaigne's philosophy is not some abstract theory that sounds nice but has no real use. It is a concrete guide for completely changing how you experience being alive. And now we are ready to take the next step forward. So what actually occurs when you fully accept this approach to life? What shifts in your world when you stop running after approval, stop obsessing over every possible result, and refuse to let fear be the boss of your decisions? Picture yourself opening your eyes one day and suddenly understanding that most of the pressure crushing down on you was never actually there in the first place. The standards you have been desperately trying to reach, the expectations you have been breaking your back to satisfy, and the fears that have kept you frozen in place were all just mirages created by society, your upbringing, and your own thinking. Montaigne recognized that worry comes naturally to human beings. We spend our days thinking too much, trying to see into the future, and fighting against what we cannot know. But what if the path to happiness is not about fixing every single problem, but about accepting that some things will always be beyond our reach? Here's one of Montaigne's most life-changing insights. The world will never completely get who you are, and that is absolutely fine. Really consider this idea. How much of your time do you burn up trying to make people understand you, defend your decisions, or show others how valuable you are to people who might never truly see your worth? We hide our real thoughts to avoid arguments. We push down our genuine wants so we can blend in with everyone else. We constantly search for approval from others when the truth is, the only approval that actually counts is the approval you give yourself. Montaigne saw that much of our pain comes from caring too deeply about things that do not help us grow. He watched how people twist themselves into knots over small problems, clinging to old hurts, fears, and feelings of not being good enough that bring nothing positive to their lives. But when you take a step back, you see that most of these concerns are tiny compared to what really matters in life. Have you ever experienced this? The second you stop obsessing over a problem, an answer just appears out of nowhere? Or when you stop chasing after someone's attention, they suddenly start paying more attention to you. This is not just luck. It shows us something much deeper and more important. When you release your grip, life begins to move the way it is supposed to. The trouble is that most people fight against this idea. They think that if they stop caring so much, they will lose their drive, that letting go is the same as giving up completely. But this thinking is completely wrong. Not caring does not mean you stop feeling anything. It does not mean you become lazy or quit trying. It means you move your attention to what truly has value and you free yourself from carrying weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. Montaigne wanted us to welcome imperfection, not just in ourselves, but in everything around us too. He knew that trying to control absolutely everything is a fight that will wear you out and never actually end. Life cannot be predicted. No matter how much we plan ahead, get ready for every possibility, or try to force things to go our way, there will always be parts of life that remain out of our hands. So why not give in to this truth? Why not accept that making mistakes, experiencing failure, and facing uncertainty are simply normal parts of being alive? Think about how much weight would lift off your shoulders if you stopped trying to manage every single detail of your existence. If you stopped picking apart every choice you make, if you stopped being terrified of failure, and instead saw it as just another part of your path forward. Montaigne shows us that every great thinker, leader, and artist throughout history has dealt with failure, rejection, and being misunderstood. But they did not let these experiences become who they were. They kept moving ahead, untroubled by what the crowd thought of them, because they understood that real success does not come from getting validation from others. It comes from living as your true self. And here's where things become even more fascinating. When you start thinking this way, people around you begin to take notice. You become more sure of yourself, more attractive to others, and more in charge of your own existence. Not because you are forcing anything to happen, but because you are no longer throwing away your energy on things that do not serve any real purpose. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to succeed without even trying hard, while others work themselves to death and still struggle? The difference is not always about talent, being smart, or even putting in long hours. The difference is in how they think. The people who do well in life understand that freeing themselves from pointless worries lets them put their focus on what truly has meaning. What Montaigne discovered shows us something amazing. The more we let things go, the more we actually receive in return. When we stop being scared of failing, we start taking bigger chances. When we quit looking for other people's approval, we become more real and genuine. When we stop trying to force everything to happen exactly how we want it, we make room for surprising good things to show up in our lives. This is exactly why the idea of not caring so much, when you understand it the right way, is not about quitting or giving up on life. Instead, it is about finding real freedom. It means you get to decide where you put your time and energy, focusing only on the things that actually matter to you, and refusing to let yourself get distracted by stuff that never had any real importance in your life anyway. Take a minute to look at your own life right now. How much of the stress you feel every day comes from worrying about what other people are thinking about you? How many times have you stopped yourself from going after something you really wanted because you were afraid of what people might say? How often do you go over your past mistakes again and again in your head, as if beating yourself up about them will somehow magically make them disappear? The way Montaigne thinks about life sets us free from these invisible prison cells we build in our own minds. He shows us that what happened before is already over and done with. What might happen in the future is impossible to know for sure. And the only thing we actually have control over is this exact moment we are living right now. And when you really accept this truth with your whole heart, everything starts to change around you. But there is even more to discover here, because in what comes next, we are going to look at something that might surprise you. We will see how pulling back and not being so attached to outcomes, instead of making you lonely and isolated, actually helps you build stronger and more meaningful relationships with the people around you. There is something really strange about how life works. The exact moment you stop desperately needing something, it often shows up without you even trying. When you stop running after approval from others, people start respecting you way more. When you stop being terrified of failure, new opportunities start appearing out of nowhere. And when you stop trying to control every little thing that happens, life starts moving in directions you never could have imagined. This is one of the most incredible truths that Montaigne figured out about how life really works. Pulling back and not being so attached is not a way to run away from life. It is actually the path that leads to feeling more satisfied and fulfilled than you ever thought possible. When you stop trying to force things to turn out exactly the way you want them to, you open yourself up to the natural way that life wants to flow. And when you do this, you start to experience something that is truly extraordinary. A feeling of inner peace, real personal power, and genuine connection with everything around you. But here's the big question we need to ask. If stepping back and not being so attached is really this powerful, why do most people have such a hard time actually doing it? The answer is actually pretty straightforward. It is because we have been trained our whole lives to believe that being in control is the same thing as being safe and secure. We have been taught that if we just try hard enough, make detailed enough plans, and worry intensely enough about everything, we can somehow bend the world to match exactly what we want it to be. But Montaigne reminds us that this whole idea is nothing more than a trick our minds play on us. No amount of control can ever completely get rid of uncertainty from our lives. No amount of planning ahead can stop unexpected things from happening. And no amount of worrying can actually change what is real and what is happening right now. Instead of fighting against life and trying to make it be something it is not, he asked us to welcome it exactly as it comes to us, complete with all the things we cannot predict, all the ways it is not perfect, and all the messiness that just comes with being alive. Think about the relationships you have with other people in your life. How many arguments and fights happen because someone did not do what you expected them to do? How much pain do you feel because you want to make people behave in a certain way? How often do you try to control what others think, what they do, and how they feel, only to end up feeling frustrated, let down, or even hurt by the whole thing. Montaigne understood something really important. Real connection with other people is not about controlling them. It is about accepting them exactly as they are. The more you let other people just be themselves, without trying to change them or push them into the box of what you think they should be, the stronger and more honest your relationships with them become. This is exactly why people who practice stepping back and not being so attached often end up experiencing much more love, respect, and admiration from others. They do not squeeze the life out of their relationships by making constant demands or having unrealistic expectations. They do not need people to constantly tell them they are okay or worthy. They simply live in a state of quiet confidence, letting others come close when they want to and letting them have space when they need it. And here's something really interesting. This approach actually makes them more magnetic, more respected, and more cherished by others. Have you ever seen how the people who are practically begging for attention usually end up getting the least amount of it? And how the people who are completely comfortable with who they are seem to naturally pull others toward them without even trying. This is exactly what happens when you learn to release your grip on things. Montaigne figured out that the way we connect with other people is basically a mirror of how we connect with ourselves. If we are always hunting for validation from others, it shows that we have not really accepted who we are deep down. If we get scared at the thought of being alone, it means we have not learned to enjoy our own company yet. If we need other people to behave in specific ways before we can feel okay, it shows that we have not built our own solid foundation inside ourselves. But something incredible happens the second you turn your attention inward. When you quit trying to control what other people do, when you stop being afraid of being by yourself, when you stop using outside measures to decide if you are worth something, you discover what real freedom actually feels like. Really think about this for a second. How much of your emotional energy gets used up just reacting to what other people say and do? How many times does someone else's opinion completely wreck your entire day? How often have you held on to feelings of resentment, anger, or disappointment, only to figure out later that it did not help you at all? Montaigne shows us that true peace has to come from inside us, not from getting approval from other people. And once you really get this idea, the way you approach everything in life starts to change completely. Picture yourself walking through the world completely unshaken when someone criticizes you. Imagine facing situations where you do not know what will happen next, but you are not scared. Imagine being able to love and appreciate the people in your life without feeling like you have to control what they do. This is exactly what starts happening when you stop caring about the things that do not really matter in the big picture. And here's the most important thing you need to understand. Letting go does not mean you pull away from life completely. It does not mean you become someone who does not care about anything or feel any emotions. It means you engage with the world completely and fully, but you do it without getting attached to specific outcomes, without unnecessary worry, and without feeling like you have to force things to happen. What Montaigne taught is really about finding the right balance. It means caring deeply about the things that truly have value in your life, your personal values, your sense of purpose, your inner peace. At the same time, it means releasing the things that suck away your energy and do not serve any real purpose in your life. After watching this, what's one thing you're ready to stop caring about? Write it down. You might inspire someone else if you found this video useful. Please like it and subscribe to the channel. There are more videos on this channel that will help you become a better version of yourself.